Okay, step one is going to be to remove the outer door and panel on your circuit breaker panel. For that, you'll just need your flathead screwdriver. Now, whatever kind of panel you have, you most likely have 4 screws that are going to hold the outer door on. So first, remove those screws. Now, before you remove the last screw and take the door off, one important safety tip is to flip off the main breaker.
Come on, come on. No! I was about to win! No! No!
Now, at your home, this is a sub panel. It's probably going to look a little bit different. You're going to have your main breaker up here, and all you do is simply flip that off. So once you've got your main breaker off, remove this last screw, and then simply remove the outer door. Now, your circuit breaker panel at home may not have another panel. My demonstration sub panel here does, so I'll have 4 more screws to take off to be able to access the circuit breakers. Now you can see that the circuit breaker and all the wires are exposed. Now remember, on your home circuit breaker panel, you're most likely going to have 2 hot wires coming in from the top. Those are still hot, so do not ever touch those. Also, never touch anything inside the circuit breaker panel that you don't need to touch. It's good practice to only touch what you have to. Always safety first. This procedure will be the same whether it's a single pole, double pole, or quadruple pole circuit breaker. Okay, now that we have access to the circuit breakers in the panel, another handy tool is a contactless voltage tester, such as this one. You don't actually have to touch anything, but when you come up to wires that have electricity, it's going to vibrate orange and green, just like that. And when it vibrates like that, that means that there's still power. So we're going to flip this off. Okay, now that we've shut power off to the circuit breaker panel, everything from your service connection down is now powered down, and it will not have electricity on it, but again, don't touch anything you don't need to. Okay, earlier we marked the bad circuit breaker there with the green painter's tape, so that way we can easily identify which one we're changing. So the first step is we want to take off the load wire, which is going to be the black wire that's coming into the breaker itself. With your flathead, you're simply going to loosen the screw and pull out the black wire. Now, if it's a double pole circuit breaker, which means it's the wider ones that have 2 inputs, you're going to have to remove both of those black wires. And it's a good idea to mark one of them with masking tape as top, or mark both of them, one top, one bottom, just for easy identification later on. So now that we've got the load wire removed from the circuit breaker, the only thing left holding this circuit breaker in is the clips onto the rail. So rock inward to outward and remove that right from the hook. Now keep in mind that there are plenty of different brands that make these electrical panels, and each brand has their own circuit breakers. The best practice is to take your old circuit breaker with you to the store if possible. That way you can match not only the brand but the model number of the circuit breaker to get a 1-for-1 swap. If it's not possible to take your old circuit breaker with you, then simply take a close-up picture of the circuit breaker, including the amperage, the brand, and the model number. Okay, now that we're back from the hardware store with our new circuit breaker, it's time to install it in the panel. Installation is just opposite of the removal. So with the clip-on circuit breaker, you're simply going to insert it onto the set rail first, and then onto the bus bar like so. Now that the circuit breaker is seated, we have to reinstall our load wire. Many of your new circuit breakers will come with the screw already tightened, so simply loosen the load screw, and then you're going to want to insert your load wire in between the two metal plates, not under the screw. Now when it's almost tight, you need to hold the wire underneath the plate so it doesn't back off, and simply snug it down. Not over tightening, but it should be pretty tight. And if you give it a pull check, it won't come right out. Now that we've got our new circuit breaker installed, it's time to reinstall the cover panels. And installation's just reverse of removal. I have my 4 inside cover screws. And then lastly, it's time to put on your outside cover panel. And then of course, after you've changed your circuit breaker, you want to test it out and make sure that it works. So let's flip the breaker back on. And there you have it. That's simply how you replace a circuit breaker for under $8. If you found value, please hit that like button, and please subscribe to the channel here and watch our next video here. And stay tuned for more electrical troubleshooting and how-to with Electrical U.